Have you ever been out for a walk in nature? Maybe it was at a park or a forest preserve or out in the desert, and all around you is the sound of birds chirping, wind blowing through the trees, or water running over rocks. It's peaceful. You feel like you can breathe easier and your worries seem to float away. And then you'll remember, wait, this should be even more peaceful. There shouldn't be any traffic noise or construction sounds or people shouting. This is a nature preserve. Why is there that jet flying overhead right now? Yep. We humans have made our mark on this place too. Our planet is drowning in noise pollution, which can have serious impacts on both wildlife and our own health. But what if we could turn back the clock and bring back the sounds that used to define our planet? In this episode, we are going to explore what Earth as soundscape might sound like without us humans clanging around in the mix. Now, pinpointing exactly what Earth's soundscape would sound like without any human influence is pretty tricky, because sounds change as they spread through the environment. Things like temperature, humidity, and wind all affect how we hear the sounds around us. So it is hard to know what a bird's song will sound like after passing through all those variables. And obviously, we don't have any recordings of what the world sounded like before humans started making noise. But scientists have put in a lot of work studying how various environmental factors affect sounds, including a ton of research on how our own noises impact the soundscape. And based on that research, they've developed computer models that can model what sounds might be like under different circumstances. So let's start with where we are today. All over the world, machines rumble, cars honk, and sirens blare. These sounds are loud enough that we can hear them from miles away. They travel hundreds of kilometers through the air and even farther across the sea. Take a trip to the beach, and you can often hear the low hum of distant shipping. In a study published in 2023, researchers wanted to figure out what the global soundscape would sound like without this transportation noise. Using a computer model called the EULA European Union LA Noise Model, they modeled what sounds would be like under 3 different scenarios. One scenario kept things as they are today, with tons of cars and planes and trains. A second removed only transportation noise. And a third dealt with transportation noise, but also accounted for the effects of land use. For example, a rural area might reflect less noise than a city with lots of buildings. The results showed that transportation noise is having an outsized effect on our current soundscape. Removing just the transportation noise reduced the global level of noise by about 10 decibels, which is a big difference. Even better, the quieter areas were much quieter. Rural regions dropped by as much as 16 decibels and wilderness areas by 19 decibels. This map shows how quiet things would get. Darker colors mean quieter sounds. See all those spots that are now a dark blue? That's quiet as a mouse squeak. And it's not just loud noises that humans make. We also produce a lot of mid-range noises between 100 and 3,150 hertz. Those include things like voices, household appliances, and machinery. If we dialed back those mid-range noises as well, we could expect a similar drop in sound levels. Voices and machines may be a bit harder to eliminate than transportation sounds, but if we could, we'd likely see a similar drop in noise levels. Then there's low-frequency sounds, like the deep hum of a refrigerator or the drone of a jumbo jet engine. These sounds can travel for miles, even across large bodies of water. And while these low rumbles may not seem super noticeable when they're right next to you, they make up a big chunk of the soundscape, especially far from civilization. Studies show that these low-frequency sounds can have a big impact on animals. Marine mammals like whales and dolphins have trouble communicating when noisy ships pass by, and studies show that birds are changing their songs in response to human noise. When researchers played recordings of traffic noise to a group of European robins, the birds responded by singing at higher volumes and shorter intervals. The increased volume probably helped their calls cut through the noise of the city, while shortening the time between calls probably ensured that their mates would receive the message. In another experiment, scientists played traffic sounds to a group of great tits, small songbirds found in Europe and Asia. The birds responded by singing more than twice as loud. That extra volume may be helping to mask the sounds of predators. And in some cases, animals may not have any other choice but to adapt or go extinct. Studies show that the Canada warbler has been steadily losing hearing range over the last few decades. That's probably because its habitat has gotten noisier due to increased air traffic. Over time, the warbler's ears have evolved to tune out the noise, which means they can hear fewer predators coming and are more likely to get eaten themselves. It isn't just animals that are impacted by noise either. Humans can experience hearing loss, sleep disruption, and cardiovascular disease as a result of living in noisy environments. Plus, it's hard to relax or focus when there's a bunch of unpleasant noise all around you. As bad as all that sounds, there is good news. Many of these negative effects are tied to noises above 55 decibels. Fortunately, we haven't produced many sounds that reach that level. The loudest human-made sounds are fireworks and jets, which register between 120 and 150 decibels. Most of the sounds that we do make are below 55 decibels, meaning that we could quiet down a lot and still leave most of our soundscape intact. In that 2023 study, researchers looked at what sounds would be like if we cut out only the loudest noises that we make. They found that we could reduce the global level of noise by nearly 7 decibels just by getting rid of noises above 80 decibels. Again, darker colors mean quieter sounds. This map shows how our planet's soundscape would look if we turned off all sounds above 80 decibels. Those super bright blues are quieter than a whisper. Now, quieting down all noises above 80 decibels would have a huge impact on our lives. After all, that includes sounds like lawnmowers and food processors. But when you think about it, that's mostly stuff we use during the day. At night, the loudest noises are crickets and other insects. Eliminating only human noise would leave plenty of room for these critters. And here's the best part. It's already happening in some places. Between 2000 and 2022, noise levels fell almost 3 decibels in Europe thanks to stricter regulations on noise. And that's enough to make a difference. One study found that as noise levels dropped, people reported hearing more birds. Another study found that as traffic noise decreased, people were more likely to hear crickets, frogs, and owls. There are also places around the world that are naturally quiet. The Al Hassa Oasis in Oman is home to several species of birds that need quiet to survive. The oasis is one of the few places left in the world where you can hear the Oriental skylark sing at dawn. This song is so quiet that it can't be recorded with a normal microphone. It has to be picked up with a hydrophone, a device normally used to listen to underwater sounds. And that's why the lark needs a quiet place to sing. The song travels up through its feet and into the ground, then radiates outward at about 10 decibels. That's about the same as rustling leaves. Quiet like this is rare these days, but it doesn't have to be. Reducing noise is good for humans and animals alike. And it turns out it doesn't take much to make a big difference. Just turning off the loudest noises we make could quiet our planet by 7 decibels, which means you might actually be able to hear the trees whispering secrets to each other in the wind. Thanks for watching this episode of C Show, and thanks especially to our supporters who helped to make it possible. Your support allows us to bring these videos to everyone for free, and we couldn't keep doing this without you. So, thanks again. And if you want to learn more about how you can help us keep making good science videos, head over to our support page.